Hi everyone. So imagine going to UCLA and actually coming out with money left over. I know. Sounds crazy, right? Well, that's happened to me, and I want to spill the tea today on how I made it happen as a low-income, disabled, and neurodivergent student. So let's dive right in. Quick note though, before we dive in, I do want to preface that I was not expecting all the very important noteworthy federal changes in funding that just occurred, specifically with UCLA, which I mean unfortunately is affecting just that one school currently in the UC system impacting a lot, there we go. Along with in general, like rules around financial aid and federal funding are changing all the time, especially right now, unfortunately, as I decided to make this video. So what worked for me may not exactly look the same for you this year, but the principles applying early, stacking scholarships, knowing your resources still totally apply. And here's why I'm sharing this. Even if some of these tips aren't 100% useful for everyone, I still wanted to put this knowledge out there. Financial transparency is key to unearthing barriers because of privilege and unequal access, especially for folks who are disabled, low income, POC, LGBTQ+, or all of the above, which is me too. So whether you're thinking about applying to a UC, transferring, or even just being curious about how college funding actually works, go around and let's break it down and demythologize the idea that you can't afford your dream school. This first segment is the myth versus the reality of college costs. Let's be real, I do see the large amounts of tuition fees. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but maybe I could paste my actual schedule bill I had after I went to UCLA. But basically, many students assume that college is unaffordable, which, let's be real, it's very true. I mean, just going to a public uni at a UC, it is about $30,000, I believe, just for tuition, and that does not include housing and everything else. And yeah, it's quite unaffordable at first glance, and that does not even include housing. Personally, housing I think at UCLA was about sub $20,000 when I left about, and literally it just seems such a daunting and very kind of disheartening thing to look at when you really want to get into like your dream school and you're seeing this price tag and your bank account and your financial situation and your parents' financial situation, or even if your parents aren't even financially supportive of you. There's a lot to think about before you decide you want to give yourself a chance to applying. Now, personally, I also had a lot of fears figuring out financial aid. Personally, my own older sister never went to a UC school. She was actually still in community college with me at the time, and I was sitting there. For context, this is during the pandemic. I believe I was applying that fall of 2021 to get in that following year for 2022, and I was sitting there, the pandemic, we couldn't really do much, and I was sitting there after 2 years, after that whole year of lockdown, thinking I need to get out. I really want to go out. I want to explore the world. Actually, I don't think I really quite opened up about this yet, but I technically had been kind of independent study or homeschooled since the last 2 years of my high school, and so I just really wanted to be with people again. I know, I am autistic. I am very ND. I do have mental health difficulties and whatnot, but at that point in time, I wanted to get out. I needed to get out. Everyone knows here, like, just staying in a house, especially if you live at home still with your family, no, that is a no. Oh my goodness. So I need to get out, basically. And when I first looked up the price for UC, I also was in the same boat. I did not want to pay $30,000 of just loans. That's only for 1 year, I believe, too. Yeah, $30,000 a year out of just tuition. And I was not about to deal with that. No, sir. No way. Then jumps into how I applied. So then I took it upon myself, the very first of my family to even consider going to a UC school. At the time, my sister only wanted to get into a Cal State school for sure. She didn't want to try getting into a UC. The application process required personal statements and other questions. And since she was older at the time, she didn't want to deal with any of it. So I was out there on my own navigating this whole process. Very scary. The pandemic, we couldn't have many workshops or anything at my community college at the time that would support transfers that were applying. It was mainly just virtual, and I think the writing center only barely opened up. Very few appointments because of COVID and everything. So I was out there just winging it, basically. So now here is how exactly I was up for success before applying, and let's jump right into it. So first off, depending on your citizenship status and resources, and even as far as your quality of your relationship with your family, specifically your parents, I applied for FAFSA. FAFSA. I know. It is literally the one main thing you should look into that you have definitely probably heard at least once from someone, whether it's your peers or a guidance counselor. your peers or a counselor or even like your college's inbox to say, hey, not aware of what FAFSA is. It is basically the federal student aid program for people going to college, and this could be from community college all the way up to four-year universities, and I believe maybe even vocational schools as well. I will go fact check that later and let you know right here. FAFSA has a online website, and there is a form you could fill out. They will ask for your parents' or guardians' income and financial information, and judging on that, they will offer you a sort of financial aid estimate package of what they could give and to support and fund your education. There are a lot more other programs, and there's other things such as the DREAM Act and other programs that are out there as well. Personally, I am a US citizen. My parents are both born here, and FAFSA was the right fit for me. However, there are many other programs out there that could be more of service to you depending on your citizenship status, your family status, etc., which unfortunately I am not well versed on, but I'll go ahead and attempt to link those down below based on the programs that I've listed here. Yeah, so I applied for FAFSA, and back then I believe the FAFSA application opened up a little bit earlier. It was during the fall. I believe it was during the fall, and I know nowadays the FAFSA application opens a bit later in January of that coming school year. But essentially what I would do is I'd make sure to apply early for FAFSA, because people know to jump onto FAFSA early to get their money, get their aid as soon as possible. And when community college would highly encourage us jumping on to applying early and whatnot, in case, but the budget runs out, and was most likely applying. So I believe the UC application opens as well during that same time in the fall. And then, so that's the main thing that I did, and based off of that, so I applied to FAFSA every single year. I even went to community college, and that, my friends, was literally the key to how I was able to fund everything. And on top of that, there's one more program that I think is crucial to my success of affording college that I think is worth looking into, and that is called the EOPS program. That is the Equal Opportunity, let me look it up. And that is called the Extended Opportunity Programs and Services. I believe that is a state-funded program, but it is mainly geared towards low-income students and such, or even disabled students, where if you have a registered disability, or if you have accommodations at your school already and whatnot, even just being part-time, you're able to qualify for EOPS. And through that program, every single semester, they would give you a book grant. And that, for me personally, based on my school's funding, that ranged from, honestly, I want to say $200 to $500 a semester, which is a lot. That is a lot of money. I have never seen more than like 3 digits in my life for free, nonetheless. So what I would do is every semester I'd be saving that EOPS book grant money, and that's the thing. There's a little hack, a little cheat that they kind of do not tell you. If your financial aid amount exceeds that of the costs of your university or even college, that is excess money that goes straight to you. You should be getting a refund. You should be getting all of that free money for you, for your education, and all your other expenses related to your education. Since it was also the pandemic at the time, I believe it was also a mixture of luck on my part. I just happened to be kind of driving through, wanting to get and transfer through college on time within 2 years and whatnot. And so what happened was, since there's so many people dropping out, I believe at the time, from my community college and community colleges in general, there was so much federal aid and money that was just kind of floating around because everyone started to drop out of school. They started focusing on providing for themselves and their families in the pandemic, in such a crucial but scary time, right? I received a lot of financial aid just through the luck of the timing, honestly, through that time that I was transferring. And so what I did was I wasn't doing anything. So personally, I lived at home. I didn't have any bills, nor do I have any dependents or anything. Although at the time I had 2 pet bunnies. They took my money. They took my money, but I ain't complaining. They were cute as heck. Anyways, so what I did was made sure to pocket as much money as I could. I did my savings, rarely spent. And you know what? Granted, too, that was another thing to consider. There really wasn't much else to spend your money on, in my opinion, during the pandemic. Like, you couldn't really go out anywhere. I don't know, you just go to your grocery store and then go back home. Like, there really wasn't much there. And personally, all I cared about in that moment, luckily, was my hyperfixation at the time was K-pop. It was like watching BTS on their like digital concerts and whatnot. I would just buy some merch, but I wasn't like an avid collector sort of deal. And I knew for a fact that I wanted to be able to save up as much money as I could for the success of my own educational journey and career based on wherever I would end up transferring. But of course, I will note in this next section how being low income and disabled does impact my options